Hi everybody, my name is David Roman, and I'm here today to talk to you about a SWOT analysis of my personal growth and of who I am as a photographer. That's what I'm going to school here for at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, to become a digital photographer and working towards my degree as an associate in science of digital photography. First, a little bit about myself. I have an original bachelor's degree in theater and communication arts from Gannon University back in 1991. I from there proceeded to move to New York City um, after I changed my mind of not getting a master's in acting from the University of Pittsburgh. I ended up in New York City wanting to become a famous actor. Uh, as you can well see, that didn't work out. But I did in turn get into the business world, needed to make some money. Before I got into that, I was doing some off Broadway and some extra bit parts in commercials and um, some TV shows in New York. But then I got into retail. I ended up selling Ralph Lauren for Macy's on Herald Square. Um, and from there, I went on to some other companies in retail, kept working my way up the corporate ladder until eventually I became a district manager in New York City for Express and Express Men's with the limited brands. And from there, I actually never thought I was going to leave the limited brands, that I would continue to grow regional manager, vice president, who knows what would happen. But unfortunately, I ended up getting recruited. Fortunately, at the time, I got recruited by Eddie Bauer, and I was the district manager for them. And then the only reason I think I left is because they really threw a lot of money my way. And then 2 years later, they ended up going under, so to speak, or filing bankruptcy again. And the stores in Manhattan and Long Island all closed. And they said that I could be a district manager from Vermont to Virginia. And I said, no thanks. And I was able to get in with American Eagle Outfitters. So once I got in with American Eagle Outfitters in Manhattan, I then got promoted to be the district manager for the home office district, which is actually here in Pittsburgh, where I live now. And then 3 years later, after getting that job with them, I was then in turn, unfortunately, laid off. So my hobby my whole life has always been photography, whether it was film and then later on in life converting back to over to digital. So this is why I'm pursuing my passion, and I've been doing this now since being let go from American Eagle as a freelance position job here in Pittsburgh for myself and working for myself. And freelancing for the city paper, being featured on Adobe.com, and doing weddings and portraits and some fine art, hanging some shows up in some galleries and local coffee shops and businesses around town. I think some of my strengths being a photographer is my visual eye. I've always been very creative as far as the arts are concerned, whether it was live performing arts, singing and dancing, working with clays and potteries and glass, drawing and painting. I like to make different types of designs with my photography. And another strength is doing things that I think people haven't been doing with their photography. One example would be people who use painting with light, and they leave the shutter open and have the camera very steady, and use different materials to draw designs and lights and words with flashlights or sparklers or some LED lights. I do something a little different where I actually leave the shutter open with the camera and focus on some lights that are already out there, and I move the camera. And I make different designs like that. And then I print them on different materials like aluminum or glass or even translucent paper and light them from behind. That's one type of strength that I think I have. Another is my portrait work. Doing portraiture is something that I'd like to do a lot. One thing that I've been doing for my portfolio for school is documenting portraits of people who are in the LGBT community and people living with or being surrounded by other people living with HIV. So documenting LGBT people have been something that I like to do a lot because that's the community that I come from, and I like to show the portraits where It's almost like these are just like everybody else, all the other people that you see around the world. You would never maybe even guess they were lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or living with HIV. Um, some of my, I think, weaknesses is me always wanting to stay active and busy all the time, really not giving myself time to focus on other things, whether it be home life or finding a balance between work and home. The other position I think that I have an advantage of, which gives me opportunities to thrive in the photography world, is my other day job now is working at a camera center in Pittsburgh. It's Bernie's Photo Center, and it's the last camera store in all of Western Pennsylvania. And we deal not only digital but also with film and darkroom materials. Then I think going to opportunities, it's a growing trend, I think, with bringing up the issue of people in that specific community of LGBT and people with HIV and AIDS, even so recent as this week, where a teacher in Chicago claimed that she only wants the prom at their high school to be 100% straight, and that, you know, homosexuality and gay people have no place for anybody, in no place at all here on this earth. And I think bringing my portraits that I'll show you in a PowerPoint after this video will kind of explain what I'm getting at and how and who I'd like to capture in portraiture. I think the biggest threat, as well as tying in with opportunities, is that nowadays everybody's a photographer. It's unfortunate because you can find certain people who have just picked up an SLR for their first time, a nice camera, and take weddings, and they are only charging about $1,000 and saying, here's your disc with all your images on it. That's not very kosher in my book, and it's something that's really bringing down and saturating the photography industry, where everybody seems to think that because they bought an SLR camera, that they know how to use it, but they're probably most of the time keeping it in automatic and not being able to even do any manual controls or functions of the camera. And it's also the same with the threat of the iPhone, and really saturating the market with everybody being able to Instagram and to become photographers themselves. I think that going forward, that my ability to continue to be a good photographer and work well with people, my great opportunity that I have here, which is leans towards my favor, is that at my house I have a studio in the back that actually used to be a nail salon for the people who used to live in this house, and it's a big white room now that I could use for portraits and for taking people's pictures and doing other product shots right here at home in my own studio. So in conclusion, I think I would like to further address how much I love my passion for the arts and photography, and giving support to my community, whether they wanted to just have their photos taken and or volunteer themselves and their time to help get it known out there that everybody is pretty much just like you and me. Thanks.